Hi, my name is Serpil Acar. I'm a professor of design for injury prevention at Loughborough University. Basically, engineering design. I too am a mathematician. Later in life, chose to work with engineers or in engineering. I used to be very active in SWE, Society for Women Engineers. This is an American-based women engineering society. It's an international society, but it's American-based. One of the very dominant characteristics of that society is to work with, they call it K to 12, from kindergarten to 12th grade, educating young girls to be more active in STEM subjects. Now, it's quite interesting. We also talk about parents' roles, etc. In their meetings, I observed so many times in one room, while they're educating girls to do little things like helicopters or, I don't know, tables, telephones and things, simple engineering subjects. In the other room, they educate parents. I think this is an incredibly important thing, but it requires money. It requires funding. It means education secretary, it means government. So my question to the panel is whether you have anything like this to encourage government to provide funding for that sort of activities, or what kind of support would you give?
The IET, in fact, have done some research recently that says that that does have an impact. If you educate the parents, it does have an impact on the career choices. So we know it does work. In terms of government funding, we can't get anybody to fund anything we do. I work full-time as a volunteer. We have no funding at all, and it's just crazy. Last year, the government provided £10 million of an employer ownership fund so that employers could bid in for it to do some work for it was developing women engineers. It wasn't outreach work, but it's the same type of government fund. And out of the £10 million, £0.3 million was used, and so £9.7 million went back into some government pot because it couldn't be spent by the employers. The government aren't investing in this. There's a program called Engineering is Elementary, which gets engineering education into the school curriculum, and that's come over from the States, and that's been pioneered for 20 years in the States with some really, really good results.
One of the organizations that I volunteer for, the Optical Society of America, which is very big in the United States, but it's really the optics organization for the world. And we fund a lot of outreach projects. So people bid for outreach projects and we fund them. And some of them do outreach projects which are experiment in the square. So sort of do a national optics day, and they'll go into the village square literally and set up an experiment or set up an installation. So it's all families that are coming, not just kids or not just parents by themselves. And they try to go into arts installations, into museums, into art galleries, even into community areas where you expect to see entire families, into parks, for example. There's a festival called South by Southwest, and they've tried to do things in these festivals and so on. So, but again, these are not government-funded programs. These are professional societies or scientific societies which are trying to do outreach.
To be fair to the IET and the IMechE, the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, they do have a joint outreach funding activity where they do fund outreach activities, so they are doing that, and other professional institutions are doing that as well, so they do have their own programs too.